I'm always up for a retro-looking RPG, and that's exactly what I just got done doing with Siralim 2, now out on the PS4. But does this game make you feel like a true RPG king, or is it more like the court jester? I was actually pleasantly surprised by Siralim 2. It's kind of a retro-looking turn-based RPG with some elements of the Shin Megami series and dungeon crawlers. The graphics are very much old-school looking with the Super Nintendo style of overall presentation throughout the course of the game. There's some great music that even goes along with this entire aesthetic. The game has you playing as the king of a kingdom, and basically the kingdom is about to be taken over by an evil force because it's set on a giant dark orb. And basically, the evil force known as Misery wants to take this orb, and your kingdom's in the way. The king that you control doesn't directly fight, but instead uses monsters in order to battle for him, and there's over 500 monsters in the course of the game. The way it ends up working is you get one monster to start off with, but soon you're shown the ropes and given a second creature at your disposal to fight with. The stats in the game are relatively basic as far as like attack and defense, speed, intelligence, and the like. The key to increasing these, of course, will be leveling up, but also the items that you equip them with. Every item, such as swords or shields, can also be enchanted to add new properties, and these are going to really be what turns the tide of battle. It starts off really easy, and in fact for the first couple of hours I was breezing through things, but quickly the battles you're going to be facing increase the number of monsters you're battling, and the types of status effects and other things that come into play wildly ends up affecting the battle. How it ends up working, though, is to get new monsters, you'll either find eggs and be able to hatch them at your hatchery inside the kingdom, or you can end up taking the essence from the creatures themselves during battles. You can only take one essence per monster per battle, but you can actually keep gathering if you want in order to get better monsters right from the get-go. As long as you have one essence, though, you can then summon the monster in your kingdom and have that join your party. You can have a total of 6 monsters in your party at once, and each of the monsters is also a different type, such as chaos, death, or life, and all this comes into play as well as far as pluses, minuses, and all the other kinds of status effects that are going to end up turning the tides of fights. To increase your monster stats, though, you will level it up, of course, as it will gain experience, but also equipping those artifacts. You can have a sword that may be a plus 10 to attack, but you can enchant it at your enchanter inside of your kingdom in order to add other boosts such as attack boost, speed boost, intelligence boost, or other abilities altogether that can really end up making a weapon worthwhile. You can unequip an artifact at any time and equip it to one of your other monsters, so if you get one that's really good, but then you end up getting a much better monster, you can, of course, give it to that one. Magic works the same way in a lot of regards, as you actually have to equip the magic to your creatures in order for them to use it. And the way battles work in the game, though, is it's much more focused on the individual fight, instead of being the broad spectrum of battles in a dungeon. What I mean by that is every creature automatically regens their health or comes back to life at the end of a fight, and even if they die during battle, they still end up gaining experience. While this seems like, of course, making the game extremely easy, in some ways it does make it a lot easier, the thing is, a single fight can still end up wiping you out against random opponents due to all the different status effects and other things that will end up coming into play, especially as you make it farther in, as like I said, the first few hours, the game is pretty much a cakewalk. One of the things I do like also is that you're always improving the castle itself by adding new stuff like the blacksmith and the hatchery and the enchanter. To do so, you have to initiate it at the castle and then go inside of the dungeon and get experience in order to build said particular item. And the same works for enchanting certain weapons. If you want to add some of the really cool stuff to a weapon, you'll have to then take the weapon into the dungeon in order to enchant it that way by getting the different essences and experience from fighting the random battles. The game doesn't have a world map or towns or multiple dungeons, it's just the one dungeon, and it works similar to roguelikes and dungeon crawlers where it has lots of different floors that you'll work through, and it's randomly generated each time you go in. In fact, even the theme is randomly generated, so for the first time you may go through, the first floor is a forest, and then the second time you go in, the first floor is a desert-themed area. This, of course, will change up the monsters you battle and some of the items and resources that you're going to be able to gather, so at least every time you go in, it's a slightly different looking area you get to explore. Every so often, you'll make it to a floor where you'll have to deal with a boss encounter in order to move on. Of course, these are going to provide quite a bit of challenge. You're always giving a quest of when these boss floors are coming, so you're warned far ahead of time when a boss fight is about to be happening. Another cool part of the game is the breeding with the monsters itself. You can combine two monsters in order to create another one. Another element that's very similar to the classic Shin Megami series. And this provides just another plethora of different things to try to get involved in, figuring out which monsters to breed, sometimes creating all new monsters because of the combination, or just making an overall more powerful creature. It will, of course, only go down in level, and you'll have to re-level it up, which thankfully won't take you too long, especially if you have a strong party around a monster. Going in, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but like I said, it surprised me with the amount of depth and the stuff going on in the battles and in the castle itself. It may not blow people away for sure, but there's a lot more to Siralim 2 than I would have given it credit for on my initial looking of the game. From the technical side of things, everything did run smoothly. I didn't run into any major glitching, crashing, or slowdown of any sort. Siralim 2 is now available on the PS4 for $14.99. And unfortunately, though, doesn't feature a full trophy list or platinum, and there's in-game achievements, so that's just another little downside of things, that they easily could have made the other achievements part of the trophy list to give it a full-blown list. In the end, I don't think the game provides anything new or revolutionary to the genre. Many are going to discard it just because of the retro look to it, but I think it's one of those ones for those who can get into it, you're going to become addicted. In fact, I found myself hard to pull away in order to even work on a review, as I was very much getting into building my stats, breeding new creatures, finding new areas, and of course trying to defeat more bosses. So with everything said though, I'm going to be giving Siralim 2 a 7 out of 10. But anyway guys, it's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course I hope you enjoyed.